Good day, my name is Abdusamad and I will be reporting about the developing reading fluency. So, what is reading fluency? Reading fluency is the ability to read accurately, smoothly, and with expression. Fluent readers recognize words automatically without struggling over decoding issues. When reading silently, in addition to recognizing words automatically, fluent readers group words rapidly to help gain meaning from their reading, which then translates into their understanding of the text. That's why when reading aloud, fluent readers sound natural, as if they're speaking, while the non-fluent readers read slowly and sound choppy. Fluency is important because it builds a bridge between word recognition and comprehension. It allows students time to focus on what the text is saying. They are able to make connections between what they are reading and their own background knowledge. So therefore, they are able to concentrate on comprehension. On the other hand, non-fluent readers have to spend more time decoding, leaving less time for comprehending the text. Due to mistakes made when reading, they will often have to read the same passage over several times to attain comprehension. In addition, non-fluent readers often do not read with expression. Even when students recognize words automatically, they are not fluent if they don't read with expression. To read with expression, a student should be able to divide a word into chunks, using proper phrasing. Not paying attention to punctuation often changes the meaning of the text. So for example, the children without their toys feel sad, or the children without their toys feel sad. Fortunately, reading fluency can be taught. It is important for adults to read aloud to children, modeling what good readers do. Show children how you pause for punctuation and change your voice to make text more meaningful. Children should be read to by their teachers, by their parents, and by their relatives. The more models of fluent reading children hear, the better. Next, it is important for children to practice, engaging them in repeated reading. Text should be easy to read and relatively short. There are several ways children can practice fluent reading. First is child-adult reading. So the adult models, then the student practices. Second, choral reading. It is reading in unison. Third, assisted reading. It is reading along with a recorded text. Fourth, partner reading. It is reading along with another child. And lastly, reader's theater. It is playing characters or in a play while reading the script. Assessing progress is easy and most children think it's fun. Children love when you take out a stopwatch and time them. Pick a passage on the proper reading level, time for 1 minute, and graph the result. After several practices on the same text, time again. The children see immediate progress and become motivated to become more fluent readers. In conclusion, reading fluency is the ability to read accurately and quickly. It is important because fluent readers comprehend better. It can be developed by modeling and practice. So why is fluency important? For many years, educators have recognized that fluency is an important aspect of reading. Reading researchers agree. Over 30 years of research indicates that fluency is one of the critical building blocks of reading, because fluency development is directly related to comprehension. And here are the results of one study by Fox, Host, and Jenkins that shows how oral reading fluency correlates highly with reading comprehension. To interpret this type of correlation data, consider that a perfect match would be 1.0. As you can see, oral recall or retelling, fill in the blank, and question answering are all above 0.6, which indicates there is a strong correlation. But oral reading fluency is by far the strongest, with a 0.91 correlation. So many researchers, including Prisnitz, Armstrong, Knopp, Lisgold, and Pinel, have found that fluency is highly correlated with reading comprehension. That is, when a student reads fluently, that student is likely to comprehend what he or she is reading. But why are reading fluency and reading comprehension so highly correlated? According to Dr. Samuels, people have a limited amount of mental energy. If you want to multitask or to become proficient at a complex task such as reading, you first need to master the component tasks so you can do them automatically. So, for example, a reader who must focus his or her attention on decoding words may not have enough mental energy left over to think about the meaning of the text. However, a fluent reader who can automatically decode the words can instead give full attention to comprehending the text. And to become proficient readers, our students need to become automatic with text so they can pay attention to the meaning. How do we help children struggling with slow, painstaking sounding out and blending? So we support and encourage them. Effortful decoding is a necessary step to sight recognition. I know reading is tough right now, but this is how you learn new words. Ask them to reread each sentence that requires unusual decoding effort. In general, the fluency formula is read and reread decodable words in connected text. Decode unknown words rather than guessing from context, and reread to master the text. Use text with words children can decode using known correspondences. Use whole text to sustain interest. Now let's proceed to methods of developing fluency. So there are two general approaches to improving fluency. First, the direct approach. It involves modeling and practice with repeated reading under time pressure. And second, the indirect approach involves encouraging children to read voluntarily in their free time. Now we're going to discuss further about the two methods. First, the direct approach or repeated readings. We often restrict reading lessons to sight reading. So who could learn a musical instrument by only sight reading music and never repeating pieces until they could be played in rhythm, up to tempo with musical expressions? Repeated reading, children work on reading as they would work at making music. They continue working with each text until it is fluent. Repeated reading works best with readers who have reached at least a primer instructional level. So use a passage of 100 words or so at the instructional level. The text should be decodable, not predictable. The reader might select a favorite from among the familiar books. And so there are two ways to frame repeated reading. So first, graph how fast students read with a 1-minute read. Graphing is motivating because it makes progress evident, so emphasize speed rather than accuracy. You could set a reachable but challenging goal. Example, an 85 words per minute. Or have the student read for 1 minute, count the number of words, read, and graph the result with an easily understood chart. Example, move a basketball player closer to slam dunk. Second, you can use check sheets for partner readings. With a class of children, pair up readers to respond to one another. Begin by explaining what you will be listening for. Model fluent and non-fluent reading. For example, show the difference between smooth and choppy reading. Show how expressive readers make their voices go higher and lower, faster or slower, louder and softer. And in each pair, students take turns being the reader and the listener. So the reader reads a selection 3 times, and the listener gives a report after the second and third readings. All reports are complimentary. No criticism or advice is allowed. Now let's proceed to the indirect approach or voluntary reading. Sustained silent reading or SSR, aka DEAR, drop everything and read. gives children a daily opportunity to read and discover the pleasure of reading. Each student chooses a book or magazine, and the entire class reads for a set period of time each day. SSR has been shown to lead to more positive attitudes toward reading. In addition, the use of peer discussion groups with SSR leads to gains in reading achievement. When students share their reactions to books with classmates, they get recommendations from peers they take seriously. Tierney, Redens, and Dishner in Reading Strategies and Practices by Allen and Bacon of 1990 list 3 cardinal rules for SSR. First, everybody reads. Both students and teacher will read something of their own choosing. Completing homework assignments, grading papers, and similar activities are discouraged. The reading should be for the pleasure of the teacher. Second, there are to be no interruptions during USSR. The word uninterrupted is an essential part of the technique. Interruptions result in loss of comprehension and loss of interest by many students. Therefore, questions and comments should be held until the silent reading period has concluded. Third, no one will be asked to report what they have read. It is essential that students feel that it is a period of free reading, with the emphasis on reading for enjoyment. Other essentials for encouraging voluntary reading include a plentiful library of books and frequent opportunities to choose. Children should be allowed and encouraged to read page turners, example, easy series books, rather than the classics for their independent reading. For gaining fluency, quantity is more important than the quality. Book introductions help children make informed decisions about what they want to read. For an effective book talk, choose a book you like. Show the illustrations to the students. Give a brief talk, hitting the high points like the setting, characters, and the inciting incident leading to the problem or the goal. Do not get into the plot, and especially not the resolution. If there is no clear plot, as a have you ever question, like have you ever been afraid of the dark, and relate the question to the book. Good book talks often feature some oral reading, like of a suspenseful part. Now we are going to proceed to the research-proven fluency strategies. So, how do we explicitly teach students to read fluently? The National Reading Panel found data supporting 3 strategies that improve fluency, comprehension, and reading achievement: teacher modeling, repeated reading, and progress monitoring. So we have here the first strategy, the teacher modeling. Research demonstrates that various forms of modeling can improve reading fluency. So examples of the teacher modeling include teacher-assisted reading, peer-assisted reading, and audio-assisted reading. Teacher modeling involves more than just listening to someone else read. Students must be actively involved 100% of the time and in a multisensory way. Teacher modeling teaches word recognition in a meaningful context, demonstrates correct phrasing, and gives students practice tracking across the page. A child can benefit from teacher modeling once he or she knows at least 50 sight words and has a good sense of beginning sounds. The reading rate of the model reader is important. Christopher Skinner, a reading researcher, found that students who read lists of words with him slowly were more fluent with the words than students who read with him at a faster rate. This lower rate enables students to learn new words and clarify difficult words. As students learn more words, they naturally become more fluent. Another form of modeling is neurological impress method. In the neurological impress method, a proficient and a struggling reader read together from a passage, with the more able reader reading near the rate of the struggling reader. Heckelman of 1969 showed that after 29 15-minute sessions,
24/7 through ninth grade boys, who were an average of 3 years behind in reading, gained an average of 1.9 years in reading based on the Oral Gilmore and the California Achievement Test. Another technique that research has shown significantly builds reading fluency is the repeated reading. In fact, the National Reading Panel says this is most powerful way to improve reading fluency. This involves simply reading the same material over and over again until accurate and expressive. In the 1970s, LaBerge and Samuel studied what happens when students read passages over and over again. They found that when students reread passages, they got faster at reading the passages, understood them better, and were able to read subsequent passages better as a result of the repeated reading. Repeated reading is a form of mastery learning. The students read the same words so many times that they begin to know them and are able to identify them in other texts. Besides helping students bring words to mastery, repeated reading changes the way students view themselves in relation to the act of reading. Lastly, we have the progress monitoring. People who play video games are presented with a specific goal and with immediate, relevant feedback about their progress toward that goal. This combination of having a goal and getting feedback on progress can be very motivating. Progress monitoring takes advantage of this combination to motivate students to read. You give students a specific individual reading goal and you tell them exactly how you're going to know they've met it. Then you give them the means to measure how they're doing. Finally, you make it simple enough that they'll know they've met their goal even before you do. This progress monitoring is what motivates students to practice reading the same story over and over until activating mastery. Lastly, we have developing reading fluency with Read Naturally strategy programs. The research-based Read Naturally strategy combines these three strategies into highly effective programs that accelerate reading achievement. Students become confident readers by developing fluency, phonics skills, comprehension, and vocabulary while reading leveled text. The time-tested intervention programs engage students with interesting non-fiction stories and yield powerful results. And here are the following references that I based my report from. Thank you for listening. I hope you have learned something.